There's a few things that I've personally seen recently as someone that's extremely active in the Canadian real estate world that I'm not really that excited about. And the title of this video is not clickbait. I really do think that Canadian real estate is getting worse for a certain segment of the population. So we're going to talk about the three types of people that I think real estate is getting worse for in Canada. And then I'm going to show you a survey that I actually put out in the community tab of my channel and go over what the results are telling me about the future of the market. Welcome back to the channel. My name is Tom Storey. I run a real estate team here in the city of Toronto, and I make educational videos about the Toronto real estate market, and sometimes we will cover all of Canada. If you watch this video, the only thing I ask from you is hit that like button. It helps the algorithm show other people this video, and that really helps out the channel. And if you want to help out the channel, you can join our growing community. Hit that subscribe button. We're almost at 7,000 people, and I still got that goal of getting to 10,000 by the end of the year. And lastly, if you watch this video and want to know more about what's happening specifically in the market that I work in here in Toronto, you can go into the first link in the description. You can book a buyer consultation, a seller consultation, or a discovery call to chat about the market. I forgot to mention one last thing. If you haven't already, make sure to check out our new podcast channel, The Tom Storey Show. We have new episodes each Sunday with awesome guests. It's an hour-long conversation where we really dig deep into what is actually happening with Canadian real estate. I want to start this video by talking about the three types of people that real estate has gotten worse for, specifically since the rates started going up. I should also make one thing clear as well. I'm a big proponent of buying real estate, holding real estate, and building long-term wealth. Real estate has put me and my family in a very, very good position. And it's not because I'm smarter than anybody else. It's because I bought an asset, I held it, I didn't panic sell when things weren't good, and I have that long-term perspective. The first person I think real estate is worse for right now is the renters. So rental prices have gone absolutely insane. I would almost go as far as saying we're getting into a rental crisis in terms of how fast these rental prices have gone up, specifically in the market that I work in. Like, you know, a one bedroom in a good area, it's like $2,900 a month now. You get two bedrooms for $35,000, $4,000. Now, I know the actual reports you'll see will say that the prices are lower than that, but that's across the entire city. Where I'm talking about like the downtown markets, it is extremely expensive to rent properties. And what has happened since interest rates started to go up, and like, I get it. I get what they had to do to fight inflation. I understand that they had to do this, and rates were ultra low for a long time. It's pushed all these people back into the rental market, and they're paying a ton of money to rent every single month, probably a higher percentage than they would have paid towards their mortgage, because there's that delta that you have to qualify in. Where for rental, it's just like, well, however much you're willing to pay. And there's a lot of people paying like more than 50% of their income just to cover their rent every single month. And that's so tough, because there's nothing wrong with renting, nothing at all. I understand why people rent, because they can't afford to buy, they don't have the down payment, or they just don't want to buy. And that's perfectly fine. But that money is 100% interest, and it's so hard to save and build wealth long-term when you rent, unless you have other assets or businesses in your life that are bringing in revenue. The second person that it's getting worse for is people with mortgages. Okay, let's just call it what it is. Now, if you have a variable rate adjustable mortgage, you've already felt the pain. You know, one of the properties that I own, I have this type of mortgage, and my payment on a monthly basis has gone up $1,300 a month. It's tough. I can afford to pay it, but it's tough. And I haven't yet seen anyone come to me and say, hey, Tom, I can't afford to pay my mortgage, but people are figuring out ways to make it happen. And if you have a 5-year fixed rate, but you're 3 years in and you're still at 2%, well, who knows what's going to happen in the next 2 years when you have to renew? You might be bumping up to 5%. And anybody that took B money when things were crazy and got, you know, a 5%, 5.5% mortgage with a B lender, you know, now your rates are 6, 7%. And it's really tough. Now, you know, we talk about this in our podcast a lot too. Like, you're responsible for your own financial decisions, but payments have gone up across the board. And I did a whole video specifically on this, that homes have not become more affordable in Canada. They have just changed the price. But the monthly payment is actually the same, if not more, but you are saving money on the down payment and land transfer tax. And over the term of that mortgage, if you actually hold the property the whole way, it's better to buy low. But people with mortgages, which is 1/3 of the Canadian population. 1/3 of the Canadian population has a mortgage, 1/3 owns their house free and clear, and 1/3 is renting or living with family. The third person that I think is worse off right now is actually downsizers. And you might say, Tom, whatever, they already own their house free and clear. Who cares if they lost a little bit? And I get it, but just put yourself in their shoes for a second, okay? You're in your retirement years. Your house is your nest egg. Maybe you have money in the stock market, which has taken a bit of a beating this year, and you want to trade down. So we had an interesting conversation about this with Taylor Hack on the last podcast, where if you are buying more than you are selling, you are a buyer. So if you're upsizing, you're a buyer. You can be a seller, but essentially you are a buyer in the market. If you are selling more than you are buying, then you are a seller. And that is most people downsizing. And when the market cools down and drops, bigger percentages come off the more expensive properties. So right now, downsizers, and many of them are seniors in their retirement years, have lost a big chunk of equity over what has changed in the last 5 to 6 months. Now I want to show you the survey that I had put out on the community tab on my channel. All right, so I had asked, I said, I'm curious, which best describes your housing situation for the rest of 2022? Now, this is a survey that I have sent to my clients, usually about twice a year, to better understand where they're at and how we could help them. And I was like, you know what? Let's ask the YouTube subscribers. So 224 people voted. Now, let's keep in mind that is a very, very small sample size, but it is interesting. About 60% of people said they have no plans to buy and sell, which is on trend. Normally that number is closer to 75%. About 7% of people are just curious what their home is worth, which I think is natural. You have 12% of people saying that they're thinking about buying a new property, meaning they're selling and buying. And then you have 22% of people saying, I'm planning on purchasing an investment property this year. Here's why this is interesting to me. So what this survey tells me is a few things. The first thing it tells me is that although interest rates have gone up significantly, there is still a good portion of people, right? Like 40% of the people that answered this survey that are thinking about doing something in real estate. Still thinking about doing something in real estate, even though the prices have changed. The second thing it tells me is that there are more people that want to buy than that want to sell. So let me explain that to you. So we'll go back to the survey here for a second. I'm curious about how much my property is worth. Now, a lot of people that sell their property are probably likely buying as well. Now, not all of them, but a good percentage. And then I'm thinking about selling and buying a new property. So that 12% and 7% combined, right? Those are people that are going to be net negative to the market. That means they are selling one and they are buying one, so it doesn't change the supply and demand in the current market. Here's where I get a little bit concerned for the future of Canadian real estate, is the investors. So 22% of people out of 224 votes, which is a good bunch of people, say they are planning on buying an investment property this year. So investors create demand. They are buyers buying property, but they do not create supply, right? So they are buying without selling. So that means that we're creating more demand for the market. And actually, Jordan at Pre-Condo had reshared this on his Instagram and said the same thing, where he's got all these people in the pre-con market just waiting with cash ready, waiting to jump on opportunities. So the reason that I bring this all up is, like, I don't want to make this a super negative video. Just like there's people that are going to be in a few tough positions. There's also a lot of people that are looking at what's happening in the market right now and going, this is an opportunity. And most of those people are buyers. So what does this tell me? Well, what it tells me is we haven't solved anything. We're still going to have inventory issues, not everywhere in Canada. I'm talking about specific markets. There's a clear reason why some markets in Canada don't go up in value as much as the others, and it's because the demand is not there. But we have a ton of demand. Because of the interest rate increases, the rental market is rocking right now. If I'm an investor and I see that, I think I might want a piece of that. So it's really interesting. And again, like, I own more than one property. A lot of my clients own more than one property. So I guess you could argue that we are part of the problem, right? That investors are part of the problem. I think that's pretty clear at this point. I'd love to know what you think about this. Just general thoughts. I just wanted to make this video and talk to you guys because I thought this was super interesting. Have an amazing day. My name is Tom Storey, and remember, home is where your story begins. If you like this video, please consider subscribing to the channel. You can learn more about the Storey Team at storyteam.ca. We also have a weekly podcast called The Tom Storey Show, with new episodes each Sunday. If you'd like to book a call directly with Tom, you can do that via the first link in the description.